Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 39 of March Comes In Like a Lion, and I feel like I've been wearing this hoodie for 1,000 reactions on the channel this month, but it's like my go-to hoodie when it's cold, and fall has arrived, and now it's cold, so... So it's actually been a little while since I recorded episode 38. I like to record March either throughout the week or in the early weekend, like on a Friday or Saturday, just because it fits my schedule really well. But last week I was gone Friday through Sunday, so I didn't have a lot of time to record. Luckily, I had recorded ahead, so it's been a solid like week and a half since I've watched episode 38. I was like, wait, what happened? Oh yeah, Ray was enjoying life. I love Ray being pleasantly surprised by Nikaido and how well he did in his first match coming back. We got a little bit more insight and confirmation on Soya. Ray has been growing and developing. It's just been a great time, and one thing that I've really liked about this series is that there hasn't been any there's been build throughout the season, but it hasn't been the build like you would think it would be. It's been a lot more internalized, character-driven, Ray's personal growth. It's been subtle, but it's been noticeable as well. And it's slowly built to these small little victories. It's not like one of those series where your main character has like the big dramatic finish and big bombastic character growth moment that you're like, oh, there's confetti everywhere. No, Ray's little accomplishments and achievements have been so important, but they've also been so real and relatable, and I kind of like that more. And so that's kind of cemented this series as being so special to me, and I love it so much. Oh, that's so warm and good. But anyway, I hope you all are staying warm on this rather chilly day. But in any case, I'm super excited for this episode. We're on episode 39. We only have 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. We have 6 episodes left. I will be done by the end of this year, which is crazy. And I'm going to miss it so much. I'm excited to watch other sports anime, but I'm going to miss it. And so you're going to hear about that the next couple weeks. But I do have a couple comments from way back a few weeks ago. Alexander Q was pointing out, you know what I want? Hina to move to Ray's high school and have Hayashida as a teacher. I agree 100%. It's so weird because the way that the story works is that because Akari and her sisters and Ray are so kind of intertwined, you get the sense, I forget how Japanese school systems work sometimes, because I'm from a very small rural school where like down the road was the grade school of kindergarten through 6th grade, and then the high school in town is like a mile down the road. It's 7th and 8th in one wing, and then high school in another. So in my mind, as I'm watching, I think, oh, well, they're all like in the same building, just on different wings. No, they're totally separate locations, and I always forget that. So I would love for Hina to go to Ray's high school. Now, obviously, she's probably going to either get to high school by the time he graduates, or I don't know if she'll be there right around. I think he'll be graduating by the time she gets there. But I would love that, because I would love for her to kind of take over. What if she took over the shogi club? That'd be so cool, because she's played it with him before. That would be neat. Hayashida would sponsor it with her. That would be so good. I would love that. I hope that she at least gets to, I hope by the end of the manga, we at least get to see her meet Hayashida and maybe have him as a teacher. That would be so awesome. I would 100% love that. So thank you, Alexandra Q, for that comment. And then the other comment is from Sarah, Sarah CE5W4, saying that Gakudo Sakura, our resident playboy that everybody wants to be on the posters because he's so good, is voiced by the one and only Daisuke Ono, who, if you're not familiar with, voices Hongo in Ace of the Diamond, Erwin from Attack on Titan, Kinjo from Free, Midorima in Kuroko's Basketball, Nakoda in Uramichi Oni-san. Daisuke Ono he's not a voice that I necessarily recognize all the time, because he doesn't really play a typecast character. He plays a variety of characters, which is fun. But once you know who it is, you're like, oh, that's who it is. Honestly, I think Gakudo, for Daisuke, Gakudo's a very much more like playboyish type of character that I'm used to seeing with him, right? I'm used to seeing Daisuke Ono play a little bit more serious, grounded characters. So playing this flirty man trying to woo people in the mountains, I'm not used to this. Where was Erwin wooing Levi in the mountains? Where is that for me? But I really appreciate that. I could never see Midorima for Kuroko's basketball wooing anybody. So unless he's playing the piano, who knows? But yeah. So I appreciate those comments very, very much. There's been a lot. I've actually been really happy because there's been in the last couple weeks a lot of comments on Patreon and YouTube, especially YouTube, which has been so exciting because I love talking about these shows with people, and it's been so encouraging and fun to see people commenting and expressing their love for this series. I wish more people watched it. It's just that good. And I think people on the surface, they're like, oh, it's about shogi. Oh, it doesn't have monsters in it. I don't want to watch it. I'm like, no, for your own personal therapy and therapeutic cleansing, you need to watch this show. You need to. So spread the word. You can share links to my reactions. You can spread links to other people's reactions. I don't care. Just tell people to watch this damn series because it needs to be watched. And if more people watch it, that means we'll get a season 3 maybe. So I'm like, just do that. Share that. Write to your congressman. Write to your local Shaft studio and tell them we need a season 3, please. I need it in my bones. Please and thank you. But anyway, I'm super excited for this episode. I can't wait for it. I hope you all are excited as well. But we're not going to waste any more time. I've waited a week and a half. It's been long enough. I need some March back in my system. I told myself I might watch back-to-back March episodes this weekend because I'm recording this on, I had Friday off, so I'm recording this on a Friday. I'm like, maybe by Sunday I'll watch episode 40 and just not wait because I've waited so long. We'll see, but we will see how that goes. So anyway, we're going to watch episode 39 of March Comes In Like a Lion, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it, Lars. Yeah. I really have wore this hoodie for like probably 8 reactions in the last week, but I swear I've bathed. It's just so cold, and this hoodie is incredibly warm, so I was just like, this might have been my go-to. And I've already washed it once in between, like, all the times I've wore it on the channel, but it's just really good. I'm gonna miss this show so much. I know some people were like, you should go ahead and read the manga. And I'm like, y'all, the temptation is real. But one, I do want to move on to other sports anime. I've loved March, but I've watched it for nearly a year now. A year. 44 weeks. Back to back, y'all. That's a long time. And I do want to move on to some others because there's a lot of really good sports anime out there. But also, Shaft brings it to life so well. Even if I read the manga, it wouldn't be the same experience. And I want to be patient and wait until they give us a 3rd season. And I will wait. I've waited for a lot of series for a long time. I think people underestimate how patient I can be. And there's so many anime out there. Like, it's fine. All right. Burnt Field. Oh. I love that red gate just there, the color spot. It's so vibrant. Oh. It's so peaceful and calm. Peaceful and calm, you say? So, of course, Shimada's here. Oh, no. What? Oh, no. It's the poster. Shogi Princess! Yeah, why is there oval frames? It looks like a funeral. Oh my god, yes! Oh my god! The Goku, like, from far away. Oh my god! Shimada, don't be talking about dying anytime soon. Wow, and that's the most you could come up with? This was our cheap version. Oh no. PC Club is not the same as graphic design. Oh my god. I love the transition. Strict budget. Oh my god. Ah! Oh, do that. That sultry look is great. An EKG. What? Oh, he's lost it. That's it. He's cracked. Shut the frick up. Oh my god. Oh my god. Poor Shimada. And the gap. Yes. As he goes away. Oh my god, these old men crying about the budget. Oh, surpass the legend. Oh my god. Oh my god. No. In this old ass building. I love they're the only ones there. Oh my, no pressure. No pressure. So it's gonna be the two of them, and they're gonna be giving the commentary. Okay. Okay, that makes more sense now. Shimada just manspreading there. Oh. Oh. Why keep us in suspense, cryptic man? I'm gonna drink you all under the table. Oh my god. What a social butterfly. Yeah, I like that some of them call him Yanigahara and then some call him just Saku-chan. Like, the differences in relationships are so intriguing to me in Japanese culture. Like, you don't get to call me that, but he does. Wow. Rowdy! Oh my god! And then Shimada comes in and drains the energy like a vampire. A devious person. A home game. Oh, he's trying to rally up home turf advantage. Oh, the odds are stacked against Shimada. Wow, feeling like an away game. So he's going to go in there and it's all going to be awkward. Wow. Saku, you are devious. I'm going to call him Saku now because that's so much easier to say than Yanigahara. Oh. Oh my god, yeah. And everybody on the train too. Oh, poor Shimada! Oh! He's shrewd. That is devious indeed. Wow. And Shimada is the opposite of the center of tension. 66. Wow. A monster. Ooh. Damn. I've cornered him 2-2. Oh, Shimada, sweetheart. Yes, let's get a master. It's his first title, possibly? Oh, I want Shimada to have it. I'm going to end his Oh, do it, Shimada. Oh, do it. You can do it. That's right. You got this. Get him. I want him to win. I always love rooting for an underdog, so I want him to win so bad. Oh. Oh. Which one is gone? Why the suspense show? Oh. Why you smoking all alone? So silent. So quiet. Did his spouse die or something? He's smoking out too. Oh. Oh, wow. Damn. We're going to talk about this in the discussion. Oh, wow. And now I'm sure that Saku can relate to the idea of being the elder statesman trying to hold on to his relevance in the shogi world compared to all these glistening youth. And how you're still fighting. Yes, very much so. Oh, wow. Sho, you're doing such good things. Uh-huh. Wow, yeah. But you know just as well that statement, it can be an insult. Okay. But I'm scared. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Yes, exactly. Don't you dare make me cry, Sho. Don't you dare do it. It's there. My eyes are like, don't you do it, Sho. Don't you make me cry. I refuse. A burnt field. Yeah. I was wondering when the metaphor would come in. You loud children. Firm and unyielding, both of them. An unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Oh, wow. Oh, is that Saku? Yep, when he was younger. Oh, wow. And it's the three of them. He looks the same even when he's younger. Wow. And the smoke. The smoke. He was a handsome guy. I wouldn't have kicked Saku out of the bed for eating crackers. Oh. Oh, and they all left him. Don't you do it, Sho. Oh, the smoke. But he kept. Oh. Oh my gosh. All that pressure. Oh. And him by himself. Sho, don't you make me cry. I'm always the oldest one. Oh. Wow, a monster. Ah. How long is he going to keep at it? Oh. Oh my God. Wow, and all the ribbons. Like, isn't that for a funeral? Oh. Oh. Yeah. Oh. This is why I have to see this animated. I can't read the manga. This is why I have to see it animated. Oh my god. Oh! Oh! Oh my god. We're only halfway through? Oh my god. Show. Uh-huh. Wow. He's like, F you! Oh. Oh my god. Damn. Oh, and them all like falling around his feet. And him dragging them with him. Oh. Oh, yeah, they are like funeral shrouds. They don't feel like they're putting a curse. Is he like using them as a strength? Oh. Oh my god. Oh, show. This is amazing. Oh. And him looking through the strands. Oh. I get like David Bowie Lazarus vibes from this. Oh. From that dream. Damn. Oh. And all his medicines there. The stuff that like nobody else sees. Internal and external medicine. Uh-huh. Well, hell, I use those. Blood pressure, stomach, cataracts. Wow. Dude's lived a hard life. Oh my god. Oh my god. Seemingly permanent title. And Shimada. Oh, interesting. 8's my lucky number. I'm rooting for you, Shimada. I want him to win his first little title. Good luck, Kai. The old men from the village. Oh. Yeah. He's like, bring us a title back to our village. Oh. Keep fighting, Shimada. Oh my god. Show us them! Show us them! Come on. Oh. Shimada's like, really? Hmm. Ooh. He seems non-perturbed about it. Mmm. What are you gonna do about it? Is he trying to lure you? Ah! Wow. Now, but don't, is he trying to make you think to do that? Oh. Oh. Oh, and these two. Uh-huh. Of brute strength. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Are you trying to do something new? All that gray hair in the audience. Wow. Shimada looks surprisingly large in that frame compared to Yanigahara. Oh. Wow. You're going to end this episode right before we find out who wins, aren't you? Aren't you? To shift. To tip back and forth. Uh-huh. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. Oh my god. Wow. But is this match really deciding rank, or is it just, you know? I'm scared. I'm always thinking the same thing. Oh my god. Oh. 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 The fire and water symbolism between the two of them is so good. I was gonna say, he's not gonna be beaten easily, no. Oh. Oh. Shut up. Oh, we're not gonna tell us. We're gonna have to wait till the next episode. Yeah, we're gonna wait till the next episode to find out the winner. That's gonna have to happen soon. Oh my god. Fine. Oh my god. Quit making me cry, show! Quit it! Stop it! Stop making me sob. Oh. Damn, this episode's so good. This whole show! I say it every week. I say it every week. Y'all, I don't know if you understand. I cannot wait to talk about this episode, but I'm going to tell y'all right now, I don't know if my mods can get to the comments before I watch episode 40. I may just have to watch episode 40 and be like, I'm sorry, but I got to know how this match ends. Oh, man. Oh, y'all. Oh, hey, this show, I told myself the entire episode, I was like, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to do that again. And then it's just the way that the animation and the soundtrack and the message, it all combines to perfection every single time. When we do the top, because I like to do an end of the year video where I go through like my top 20 shows, and I've already done the math. I will have by the end of the year, conveniently, have finished or caught up with 20 shows, which is crazy for a channel to me. I think. I know there's a lot of big channels that do more than that, but for one person doing it all themselves, that's a lot. And so I was thinking about like my top 20 shows and how I was going to organize them. And then it's going to be hard to find a show that beats this one. If I'm going to be honest with you all, there are shows that maybe have more hype and more action, but consistently being as powerful and emotional and just consistently good with not a bad episode or nary a flaw. I don't know if any show this year is going to beat March. I just don't think it's possible. So we'll see how these last couple episodes shake out and how the other series go too. But at this point, this is like my top show of the year. It's my favorite. And it's not in any one particular field. Like, there's other shows that I'm watching on this channel right now that I'm maybe more hyped for and I'm maybe more loud and expressive with, but consistently, I don't think a show on this channel this year has touched me and been resonating as much as March has. And I don't know if any will. It's so good. And this episode cemented it. I know I talked in the OP about it, but no, this episode cemented that I am sorry, as many of you want me to read the manga, it's going to have to take a hold. It's going to have to be pushed to the side because I want Shaft to animate this because it is just sublime. The imagery, the power when Saku, I want to call him Saku instead of Yanigahara because it's not as much of a mouthful. The moment that Saku like erupted into flames, the moment where he was like getting kind of smirky, being like, fine, I'll do it all myself. You're going to count out this old man. I was like, feel it in my bones. It's so good. So yeah, this is me like singing praises for 2.5 minutes to this series, but it gets me every time. I'd say on this channel, I do not cry or get emotional very many times, but this year has been an emotional year watching anime because I think I've cried more this year than I have the prior 3 years. So I've cried more this year than the last 3 years combined. So we're watching some powerful stuff on this channel, by the way. So yeah. So the humor as well, like the balance, I love Shimada at this point. I think one big takeaway from the opening scene is that Shimada is comfortable enough around Nikaido and Rei now that he feels he can kind of lower his guard and just be exhaustive and be like, oh my God, you guys. Like they've become such friends and the wall has kind of like lowered to where they can kind of be more themselves. And it's really nice to see. I think it's really interesting. But yeah, poor Shimada, he's like, y'all, this is bad. There's a lot of pressure on this match. And Nikaido's like, oh, this poster. Because like, let's go through this poster. First of all, they're like, what in the world? So they said the Kisho Championship, various receptions planned. Shimada and Saku look terrible. The lighting is terrible. The photo they chose is terrible. They both look like they're taking a funeral portrait It's really bad. It's not great. I love the idea. They're like, why do you have the oval frames? And they're like, well, if they faded it through Photoshop, it'd look like we were fading into the distance like Goku after Cell. It's like, oh my God. So that part's terrible. But then the marketing, they're like, it's even worse than the previous one. Yeah, it says the Babbling Stream Inn. Like, just, it's like an Econo Lodge. Like, we just went to this random hotel. Not a prestigious hotel, mind you, but a cheap one. And then they're like, ladies' plan includes spa services and a lunch course. They're like, while your husbands and partners are enjoying the shogi games, you can go to the spa. which seems, is this a male-only sport? I've not seen any women play. Now that I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute, because I've talked about Hina playing, and then Kyoko was brought up. I want to look this up real quick because that is actually interesting to me. Is shogi male only in Japan? Okay. All regular professional shogi players are members of the Japan Shogi Association. However, only regular professional players who are as of yet all male are considered to be full-fledged members. Women's professional players belong to groups distinct from the regular. Oh, well. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So, a Polish woman, Carolina Fortin, was the first female non-Japanese professional women's shogi player in 2017, which would have taken place after this series is set. Oh, okay. So, no Queen's Gambit happening in the shogi world. That adds a whole nother layer to it. And I'm surprised and pleased that no one brought this up previously, because I wondered if a bunch of people would be like, well, the reason why Kyoko, that adds another layer to Kyoko's struggles, because she could become a shogi player, but she's never going to be allowed to sit at the table with her father or her foster brother to play as well. That kind of sucks. Now that I think about it, I kind of feel a little bit for Kyoko in that moment, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but I kind of feel for her a little bit in that regard. The fact that she's like, oh, because I have a vagina, apparently I can't play with the men. Oh, that does boil me a little bit. I understand the differences. This is like the new wave feminist in me that's like, I understand the differences of having separated sports, perhaps. I get it. I do. But shogi is not a physical sport at all. There should be no distinction between men and women. Your brain, I know people are going to biologically say, well, a woman's brain is smaller than a man. Shut the F up. If you're going to comment that, I'm going to shut you down right there. I personally don't think in games like chess and shogi, there should be a differential between men and women. I know a lot of women that are a lot smarter than a lot of men, and I know a lot of men that are a lot smarter than a lot of women. So should we really be basing it on that? Should we? I coach professional public speaking, and we don't have men's informative and women's informative. Y'all compete against each other, and may the best person win. So I feel like women and men can be equally intelligent. So that is a bit sexist and old-fashioned, but whatever. Who am I to counter Japanese tradition? But that kind of sucks. That poster's a little bit sexist, though. As much as I would like a spa service, I could see Gaku winning a spa service as well. So, interesting. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm sure some people will be like, quit being feminist about it. But it is. I kind of feel for Kyoko now. I really do. Oh, well. Anyway, so then we have... I love Nikaido and Rei's expressions looking at the shogi poster like, that's the best photo they got of us. It's poorly photoshopped. I did an internship in graduate school where I had to work for a library, and I was there. Basically, I was a grant writer, and they also had me do all of the Photoshop flyers for all of their events because these elderly women that worked there were like, we really don't want to learn Photoshop. You're young. You do it. And I was like, cool, thank you. So I've done some flyer graphic work in Photoshop and Illustrator and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's not the best. As I say this, my thumbnails aren't the best either, but I'm on a time crunch, y'all. And they're like, the Eastern pair of shogi princes. I mean, it's cool that they're called shogi princes. That's nice. And then even Rei is like, I don't know about the graphic choices that were given here. It seems kind of weird. And Shimada's like, yeah, they kept taking all these photos and this is the one they decided to use. And the fading vibes made us look like, I love the angel motif. That's so funny. Poor Shimada. And they're like, oh, so you tried that. So they talk about how it's difficult to raise funds for the Kisho tournament. They asked Nakamura, who's the general manager, to come up with a design. God, but without spending any money, it's a tall order. So yeah, this one guy that's like, oh, I was in PC club in college. I'm like, does that equal graphic design? And then the chairman lost it. This part was hilarious, where the chairman's like, oh, this looks terrible. This doesn't look good, but why don't we just showcase their feebleness? The chairman is vicious in this moment. He is just brutal. He's like, oh, why don't we take advantage of how feeble you both look? You know, we'll just have a stationary camera that displays your EKG and heart rate. Now, to be fair, in all honesty, y'all, Shimada looks real good in that EKG pose. He looks real good there. His side profile, the jaw, the chiseledness, he looks great. But then they say, they're like, we'll just monitor your EKG and heart rate. And then he's like, oh, and while we're at it, and he just throws the papers like he's just absolutely gone out of his mind laughing. And he's like, oh, while we're at it, you know, oh, you're coughing? We'll have a nurse on standby in the next room. Hilarious. Oh my God. It's just, they're like, if either of them collapses, there's nothing to worry about. Like, just make it a reality TV show. And they're like, this, and I love that Yanigahara is like, this mockery is too cruel. And then he's like, well, and I love that the chairman is like, the gap between them is exposed. And he's like, there could be, you know, a relatively small scale event, but it's one of the 7 major prestigious titles. Let's not take it out of context. He's like, the Kisho Championship is my life. And then the chairman's like, well, we have support from 5 papers, but they're all small local papers and the budget was cut. He's like, so what are we going to do? And he's like, this is a tight period. Surely you get it. And I love the gap showing that there's a lot of dissent there. And then meanwhile, they have, even of the best of times, it overlaps with the Meijin tournament and business is slow. Meanwhile, it's the one guy there facing off against Soji again. And they're like, surpass the legend. Like, all the marketing went into that poster, which looks infinitely better. If we lose even more spectators and attention, then next year the Kisho Championship is not going to be at a hotel, but all the matches will be in the shogi hall. A 5-minute, what does it say? A 5-minute walk. He says all the matches, if we don't have a budget, are going to be in this shogi hall. And then it says a 5-minute walk from the Tokyo Sendagaya station. And Yanigahara is like, no, not our prestigious. Because it definitely feels, there's a big theme in this episode talking about aging and about generational change and what that change means. And change is inevitable. That's something that I'm only 36, but I am keenly aware that change is inevitable. I've had to make changes in my lifestyle this past year that have been a little bit hard to grapple with, because you're like, oh no, but I'm still young and can do lots of things. But I've had to make those changes because that's just part of growing up and it's part of life, and change is inevitable. Things, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That phrase is still true, but you have to change as you get older. You can't keep doing the same thing. And I've talked about this in another series, surprisingly. I talked about it in Berserk, of all series, which this mangaka and Miura, and the fact that this mangaka published March Comes In Like a Lion in a predominantly male-driven target audience demographic magazine feels like it's very relevant in this episode, because in Berserk, especially, I think it was volume 42 I was talking about, with the main character and the mangaka being older, there is, and I'm not a man, so I can't speak on behalf of y'all. I'm just sharing my personal opinion, and I do so delicately. But from what I have seen in media and with comments and people talking about it and everything, there is a culture about men being strong, quote unquote, and being physically peaked, quote unquote. And eventually that is going to change. And that is something that that anyone has to deal with, regardless of your gender. But because we place so much importance on it for men, I feel that change and that shift is harder to take, because you have this idea with the tournament losing funding. You have this nice young youth formation championship over here that's got the young players and it has all the attention and it's getting all the funding. And then you have this tournament that has more tradition perhaps and more clout, but the players in it are not as young and exciting. And so thus it starts to dwindle in its resources, even though it may have more prestige. And that's kind of what Yanigahara is dealing with now. And so Shimada kind of like, I didn't realize that Shimada hadn't won a title yet. I didn't realize this. I assumed that because he was, an 8th Dan and because he's been doing it for a while, I figured he at least had won one title. I figured he'd at least won something. I feel like he's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I feel like he's been in enough tournaments that he would have at least won one of them. That makes me feel even worse for Shimada. He's never won a tournament before. And the thing is, I kind of want them both to win this match. I want Yanigahara to win to prove that he's still got it and he still can win. But then another part of me is like, I want Shimada to win because he's worked so hard and he's been so close and he's the underdog and I always root for the underdog. And Yanigahara is in the most empathetic way possible, not the underdog, but you still empathize with him and you want to root for him. And so this show is so good at that. And I'm like, damn it. I want them both to win. I feel like the thing that also makes it frustrating is that both of them, I feel, could lose with dignity and grace. And that makes it more frustrating because you're like, oh, well, if this person loses, they're going to throw a big fit and it's going to be a thing. And if this person loses, they're just going to be like, oh, okay, sure. And so that can kind of sway your opinion. But in both cases, I feel like there's worth for Shimada winning. There's worth for Yanigahara winning. And then if Shimada loses, then he's going to be like, okay, I'll keep going. It'll be fine. I'll pick up the pieces. But you're like, you want him to win because he's worked so hard. And then if Yanigahara loses, it's like, yeah, he's questioning his worth right now. But I feel like also if Yanigahara loses, it could light a fire under him to be like, oh, you think I'm going to be demoted? Oh, you think I'm giving up? No, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm not just going to be this relic on top of the ladder that once they fall off, they're never going to climb their way back up. Like, I'm going to do it. Don't doubt me. So I feel like there could be benefits to both of them winning and losing. And I'm going to be excited. That's why I don't think I can wait till episode 40. I'm going to have to watch it this weekend because I'm like, I want to see who wins and the aftermath of it, but I'm rooting for both of them. So it's, I also like that we only have 6 episodes left, or 5 now. And I feel like next episode's all going to be about the end of the match and the final results. So then we only have 4 episodes left. So I don't think it's enough time. Maybe it's enough time to start a new match, but I feel like it's going to be a lot of finishing up the plot lines of this season to, go further. So I would never have imagined the season climaxing match being Shimada versus Yanigahara. These two characters that several episodes ago we joked were boring and nobody would want to watch that match. And now I'm like on the edge of my seat wanting to know how this match ends. And I'm like, exceeding my expectations, show. That's what you're doing. Of course it is. So Shimada's like, no big deal. No pressure. You two are just doing board commentary. Don't F this up or we won't have funding. And they're like, cool, thanks. I joke a lot about BL elements in this show, and I've gone like back and forth on a lot of things, but Shimada is the most. In sports anime, it's very easy to have like homoerotic elements and BL elements, and I joke about it a lot, and it's all in just good fun. But Shimada may be the most heterosexually coded character I've ever seen in a sports anime. There is no question. Man is just down for no other man, and that's fine, and I love it. I'm like, look at him. Go Shimada. And they're like, well, we'll do our best. And they're like, why are you being so gracious? And he's like, well, you'll find out soon. And that moment, I was very curious. I was like, why is Shimada being so gracious for Rei and Nikaido? And honestly, what's so sad for Shimada and why I root for him so much is that he's such a nice guy. Like, he's very nice. He's very dry. He's not a big enigmatic personality, but he's a very kind soul. He's just very simple and straightforward. But I feel like he's not well respected in the shogi community. Everybody's like, oh, there's Shimada. He won't go away. He just keeps on trying. At least I feel like Goto, surprisingly, is one of the most respectful people to him. That Goto gets it. Goto sees that he calls Shimada annoying but it's a compliment because Shimada doesn't give up and he keeps going. Whereas I think a lot of people discount Shimada and they're like, he just, is persistent. He's like a bug. And I'm like, no, leave Shimada alone. But what I really like about this episode is it shows so many layers and so many pros and cons almost of being on different sides of the shogi world. And I respect that so much. So for example, when we first see this scene of Shimada and then walking into the reception the night before, from an outsider perspective and from Shimada's perspective, Shimada feels like Yanigahara has cultivated this kind of manipulative environment where Saku Yanigahara, he's like, he knows all the reporters, he knows all the friends, he's 66 years old, he's been doing shogi for like 30 plus years, so he knows all these people, he knows the ins and outs of the shogi world. And so from Shimada's perspective, who's this little country bumpkin that's just been consistently playing the game for years, to him it feels like a home court advantage that Yanigahara is so welcomed and feels at ease, and Shimada walking in is very much like Shimada. I feel for Shimada because when I go into social settings, especially when there's a bunch of people that know each other, I feel so much like Shimada. You just walk into the room and you're like, crap, these people all know each other, they don't know me, and everybody just kind of like looks over at you like, oh, who are you, and just ignore you most of the time. And I normally in social settings am fine with that. I'm definitely a 2 to 3 people in a corner talking type of social person. I don't really want to be out and about mingling with everybody. I'm not that type of social butterfly. I'm a secret introvert. So I'm like, I just want to sit in the corner with my friends, my 2 to 3 people, and talk to them and ignore everybody else. And so I would feel like Shimada, like you just walk in and the room gets quiet. I feel for him and I get where he's coming from with it. And it definitely appears like that from his perspective. But then you flip it and we get to see Yanigahara, Saku's perspective. And from him, there's all this pressure because he knows everybody, because they've known him for years, because he's held this title 14 times, because everybody's like Shimada only sees from one angle. And there's another dog outside the house, so my dogs are going to bark at it, and I'm sorry, but that's why. But from, Saku's perspective, he just sees all this pressure that's on him. And if he doesn't deliver, then he's instantly discounted. And so it very much shows, I like this series delves into the other side of the ladder, the other side of success, where from the perspective of those that aren't successful, those that are successful, it looks like they're untouchable, infallible, and they have no problems. But we've seen with Soya how even though they call him a monster and he's like a shogi god, he can't hear and he has to have help walking down the street. So that instantly changes that whole perception. And then you have Yanigahara, who feels untouchable because of his age and his clout and his connections. But then you see the other side of it where he's struggling with, we'll talk about it in a minute, he's struggling with aging and his like fading legacy. And he has all this pressure that if he doesn't stay on top, they're going to discard him. This show is insanely intelligent and so good because it shows both sides of it. And you can instantly relate to all these different, all these different facets. And Yanigahara, like, he has to almost perform this success because if he doesn't, it's going to affect him. It's going to affect people's, views of him, right? If he doesn't adhere to this rowdy boys club and dive into it. And Shimada, meanwhile, is like, I just want to grow turnips. Play shogi, you guys. He's like, I also have an upset stomach, so I'm not going to drink a lot, But I love that this show gives both sides of it to where you can empathize with both of them. He's like, the challenger is stuck in this awful away game feeling. And it's like, but you can't go in with that mindset, right? And so that's why we'll talk about the old men that come to see Shimada. And he's like, during this title championship, Whether I take a bath, go to the salon for coffee, or have a meal, I'm surrounded by people talking about Yanigahara and supporting him. And it definitely makes you feel like the opponent. And poor Shimada, when he's like on the train, like looking out the window, like shit, everybody's talking about how great Saku is. Like, it's definitely a manipulation tactic, but I feel like in part, Saku knows what it is and he leans into it, but I don't think it's entirely, created by Saku. Once we find out the other side of the story, he just kind of has to lean into it. Otherwise, it'll do him wrong. And poor Shimada, he's just like, I want Shimada to win, though. I kind of do. I want him to win because I want him to have a title finally. He makes himself the center of attention. An active Class A player. What I like about it is Shimada says, he doesn't say the oldest Class Act player like some others say in this episode. He just says he's 66 and a Class A player. He's won the title 14 times. That's his legacy. He's a true monster. And he's like, or after getting this far, he's on the level of a vengeful ghost. An extra large one. But in this 5th championship match, I've cornered him 2-2. And I love that he goes back to Shimada, seeing the from the city of Shogi Tendo, let's get a master. And it's like, oh, he's like, I'll bite into anything I can. Shimada's like, I'll be a wild dog. He's like, I don't care. I will grab a hold of this title and take it down with me. Just you wait. I love it. He's like, my first title. He's like, I swear I'm going to take it. And with apologies to the old man, I'm going to end his reunions. I want that for Shimada. I do want that for him. But it's so interesting that we see Yanigahara as this monster, and then we get to see the other side as he's getting ready in the morning, and all the medicine he has to take, and all of the muscle patches and the pain patches he has to put on, and we see how frail he is in that moment. And how much he's performing that strength physically. And it just like gut punches you. Oh, it makes you emotional, right? So then there's Gon. And the reporter that's out in the hallway smoking. The moment that Shaft showed the flashbacks and there was the cigarette smoke filtering up throughout the entire sequence, at that moment, I was like, and then we saw the funeral. I think of Heaven Official's Blessing. There's a character in Heaven Official's Blessing that has like a funeral motif, and it carries a big long staff that has the funeral like sashes hanging from it. And the moment I saw that, I was like, ooh, okay, that's what it is. The moment they had those two elements put together, I was like, I can't read the manga. I gotta see it animated because this is too good. It's too good. It's too good, y'all. I feel like I can't go back to just reading the manga. I just can't. So Gon was, this is an interesting thing. I got an official notice to take an early retirement. I'm a teacher. And so at the collegiate level, I also am part of our union. And I have seen over the past several years, especially during the pandemic, I think during the pandemic it was most noticeable, but I had watched the administration that I worked for offer early retirements to some faculty. And there was one professor that I think of that I connect with Gon a lot. And he, during the pandemic, he was, older. He was probably going to retire probably in 6 or 7 years, but he did not want to bend to the technology issues that the pandemic brought. He didn't like teaching online. He didn't like teaching. He liked face-to-face only. He didn't like teaching online. He didn't know the technology. He didn't like the format of it. He didn't think that it fit the style of teaching that he did. And he was a really good teacher. I had him in class and he was amazing. But he was not flexible. And the administration was like, okay, if you don't want to change with the times and you don't want to do what we got to do in this situation, then maybe you need to retire early. And it was not laying off. They did compensate, but it very much was like, now you get out. We're going to keep the people that are up to date and younger and can go with the flow a little bit more. And it definitely felt, if I had been in his shoes, it would have felt like a slap to the face. And I get that you have to be flexible in hard times like that, but it definitely felt hard. And so when Gon's talking about the early retirement, I'm like, oh, I know exactly. I've had instructors tell me that exact same thing, and I know exactly what he's talking about. And it's sad because essentially when you have that happen, I can imagine that it feels like they're just shuffling you out the door because you're old and and the thing about it is, I don't know how the reporting jobs in Japan work, but in academia, your salary you kind of work towards, you want to be the professor in his 50s or 60s because teaching is one of those professions in the US where you start out not making a lot of money and you got to kind of work at it, but if you can stay strong and keep in the industry and keep on teaching and doing good, you do get rewarded in the long run. You do keep getting raises and your salary does get bumped up based on your seniority. But the only thing is, by the time you're like in your 60s and the administration's like, we're paying you this much, maybe you should go so we don't have to pay that much and we can start back down paying like half as much to a kid younger than you. And it's like you see the inner workings of that at work. And so I don't know how the journalism world is in Japan, but if it's anything like the academic world, then yeah, I could see them wanting to get rid of him because they're like, we're paying you a lot of money and you're getting old. So let's get you out and get this young kid in that's going to take a fourth of what we're paying you because of experience and we'll save all this money. I don't mean to be cynical like that, but I've seen it happen in the academic world. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case here. And, the good thing about Yanigahara is the shogi world ain't making a lot of money like that, so it's fine. But we've seen it kind of displayed through the marketing and the advertising that we talked about it a few episodes ago with Gatsu, that the audiences want young, fresh faces. That's what sells the tickets. That's what gets people excited. And I'm sure Yanigahara feels the pressure of being able to deliver that same quality of shogi matches that the people want to see. And he's like, I didn't want to cast a damper on the festivities on the night before your important match with my stories of economic woes. I feel like it does light a fire under Yanigahara though, right? And he's like, I think about how you're still, the moment he said, I think about how you're still fighting and I couldn't sit still. I'm like, oh, that pressure that Yanigahara has. Like Shimada has the pressure of his hometown and all that. Yanigahara has the pressure of all these men before him that have retired or left. And he's the last one. He's the eldest. I mean, the chairman's there too. The chairman ain't no spring chicken. And when they went out into the crowd at one point during the match, all those men had gray hair. So Yanigahara may be the eldest, but there's definitely, the age gap I don't feel is as big as he might think it is. I feel like there are gaps in age, but there's still people from all different ages that are watching these matches and still playing shogi. And then that line where he says, shouldn't you relax and enjoy the rest of your life? That is it is a brutal cut to someone's ego to suggest to them that you've reached the limits of your ability. How about you just take a break, go enjoy the rest of your life and just go from there? That can be a major insult to someone, especially these men, to be like, you're not competent anymore. And both of them, it's not like they were Olympian athletes. They're both doing things that they should still be able to do. It's just the way that society perceives them. And he says, without my work, what is left for me? And that got me because, yeah, I mean, we define ourselves on so many things, but your career, usually you choose your career, usually. You want to choose your career because it's something you connect with and something that you love. And being told that you can't be a journalist anymore, being told you can't be a shogi player anymore, when you make work such an integral part of your being, and that's good and bad. You know, some people might say, well, you don't need to make work such an integral part because eventually you won't be able to do it. And there's a lot of truth to that, but you know, these men, they're Gen Xers, they're Gen X or boomers at this point. I think they're boomers, honestly, if they're 66, they're boomers. And part of the boomer generation, post World War II, part of the boomer generation was your work, what you do, how you make a living your identity is part of that. And I can see it in my dad. I can see it in my grandpa. I can see it in my uncle. Like, their work is who they are. And without that, you've devoted your whole life to it. What are you left with? And that's so hard. And you could say that for veterans. You could say that for a lot of things. Like when you absorb something to yourself that it becomes part of your being, when you don't have it, it does leave a hole and you have to find a way to fill that hole. And so I felt so bad for him. And I feel like Yanigahara is the same way. He's like, if I don't have shogi, what do I have? Because that's been my whole life. I'm assuming he's not married. Yanigahara isn't. He's just dedicated his whole life to it. I wanted a little bit more with Rei and Nikaido and Yanigahara watching them set things up, because I love that Rei and Nikaido were arguing about how to set it up. He's like, well, you're doing it wrong. Well, you're doing it wrong. It was a very youthful little conversation. And Yanigahara's like, these kids. And I love that it's like firm and unyielding. He's like, we should put it up side by side. And he's like, well, we have to keep it lively, like the two of them. It's like, we explain with pictures. And he's like, this brings me back. So we go back to the 23rd Children's Shogi Tournament, which is way back in the day. And he's like, it shows him when he's younger. Can we also just say, Saku could get it? I was looking at him being like, oh, sir, I would not kick you out, sir. Saku's too old for me now, but back in the day, Saku had it going on. I'm like, look at you. But it's showing him with all of his friends and them all playing shogi, and it feels very much like Shimada and like the culture of being young, and the smoke from the cigarette just rising up, but us seeing that as he gets older, all of his friends and people he was close with, they just can't play shogi anymore, either for medical reasons or for family reasons, or because they want to, take a step back and focus on a different career, or they can't make it and they just give up and look for another path. But Saku keeps going because he loves it so much. And they're like, please. They're like, we'll be cheering for you. And the frames that got me were when he's standing out there in the dark and there's like the security light showing down, but then there's the darkness behind him. And it shows that like nobody is standing with him. He's by himself and he's doing this all himself. And then the tendrils of the funeral sashes just wrapping around him, like, the imagery is so damn good. And he's like, I'm always the oldest one. That shot of him, like, and how much he's aged in that one shot. He's like, how long has it been like this? And they're like, he's a monster. How long is he going to keep going at it? It's like, like they're all waiting for him to fall, right? And he's like, the people fighting alongside me have disappeared one after the other. And I love like the ashes and the confetti. And he's like, all that is left now. And the moment he like raises his arm to stroke through the sashes in his old body, these innumerable sashes. Oh my God. And they're all like, you would think they would be strangling him. But instead, it's almost like they're bound around him. And the way that he just sorts through them. All the animation was Shaft in this moment. It was so damn good. It was like he was controlling it and bending them to his will. It just made me think that he was using it and bending it to his will. The use of those sashes. And then what does he say there? I want to get that. As that smirk he makes might be the thumbnail. And then he's like, they sure are heavy. Such a heavy burden, right? And then, the people who are departing, he's like, I carry their will. And the idea of standing on the burnt field, like the field that's been, because what it is like, I know in our area, when you harvest something, sometimes people will burn the field, and they burn the field to cleanse it, to kind of like, to restart it. And so from my perspective, I'm sure there's somebody else that has different symbolic meanings from that burnt field metaphor. But for me, it's like, it's the process of the field's been harvested, all of the good things are gone, and now we just burn it over so that we can start anew. So for Gon's perspective, he feels like, I'm standing in that burnt field. All the fruits of my labor have been harvested. There is nothing left. They're going to cleanse the field and start over, and I'm being left behind. Everything that I worked towards is now over, and they're shuffling me out to bring someone new in, is what it felt like to me. And then Yanigahara having the dream of being tangled with the sashes he's been entrusted with. And I don't know if you've seen David Bowie's Lazarus video. It was the last music video he did before he died. But he has like a cloth over his eyes, and he looks kind of like a mummy in some points. Yanigahara. 100%. And then he wakes up from his nightmare. But yeah. Also, dude, I can't say anything because my great aunt and my grandmother, they smoked till they were in their 70s and 80s. I can't say a word. I don't recommend it. But they smoked till they were in their 70s and 80s. And so the concept of him waking up next to an ashtray filled with cigarette butts, I'm like, dude, you should probably quit smoking. But also at this point, do what you got to do, I guess. But him waking up with the cell phone and the watch there in the hotel, and he has all his medicines lied out. Because, yeah, I wanted to get a hold and just see some of those and just the process of him waking up. Yeah, internal and external medicine and all the patches, the eye drops for cataracts, the blood pressure medicine, everything, the stomach medicine. What else? And the patches. And he's like, I don't know if these patches are going to last me throughout the day. It hits you hard because when you watch, especially like your family growing older, and I'm not going to get emotional, damn it, but it does hit you really hard. Ugh. Like, I feel for Yanigahara so much. So, yeah, his seemingly permanent title on the line. Like, he's rarely gave it up, right? And then Shimada, who's the hardworking player, going for his first title. And they're like, whoever wins, it's going to make for a bitter article either way. But then as they both are in their, like, nice kimonos and everything, but as Shimada walks down, he looks over, and the old men, they're like, good luck, Kai. And they have, like, they're cheering him on. And I don't know, I'm assuming they're really there. I don't think that it's an illusion. But at that point, you're just like, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Like, I want Shimada to win, but I also don't want Yanigahara to get discouraged either. You know? So it starts at 9 a.m. And they both get there to start the match. And it goes, like, for all day, like, into the evening as they start. What I love the most is that it definitely feels like, I love that Nikaido says it's like a manga. I'm like, that's so meta. Good for you, Nikaido. But what I love about it is that you have a very fire and water motif where Yanigahara, when he like lights himself on fire, he's just like, I'm this torch and I'm going to keep burning. I'm going to burn and burn and burn until I can't anymore, until I'm ashes. And it's so symbolic for him and his fight and his age and everything. But then I like to think of Shimada as this flowing stream, where a lot of people have kind of made this comparison of Shimada, like, you can't stop him. You can block the dam for a while, you can block the stream for a while, and you can kind of set him off and hold him back, but eventually he's going to crack through and he's going to start again. Because it's like water is one of those things symbolically that, like, it's unstoppable. It will always find a way to work itself through and be able to move forward. And that's Shimada. You may be able to hold him back. You may be able to contain him. You may be able to stop him from leaking, but he's going to find a way eventually to break out and keep moving forward. And I love that fire and water motif. It's so perfect between them. And I love this idea of Yanigahara, like, taking risks. Like, he's showing, like, this is this new formation I've built, and these are the risks that I'm taking. He's like, I may be old, but that does not mean I can't learn new things and do new tricks. And I love Nikaido and Rei being surprised by it and talking about it like it's this new formation. And all these men in the audience are all older, which is so interesting. And the idea of Rei and Nikaido being like the new generation along with Soya that are like coming up, and it's so good. I love it. Because I feel like Nikaido and Rei will keep doing it. They'll keep playing shogi, right? They're not going to give up. But God, I love it. I love the idea that they're both working as hard as they can against one another. And they're both driven by different things, but they're not that far apart. And, he's like, I hear you again. He's like, if you're standing in a burnt field, he's like, I'm still burning. He's like, the fire isn't over yet. I'm still burning and I'm still going through this. And he's like, winning and even losing aren't things that can ever be decided easily. So I feel like even if Yanigahara loses, I feel like he's like, I'm not going to make light of that and I'm not going to let it stop me completely, but I'm not going to also give up easily. He's like, I'm going to keep fighting. I'll become a human torch again today and give full reign to my suffering. I love that. I love these, like, if I'm going to be in pain, so be it, but I'm still going to fight. And then, yeah. It's so damn good. So damn good. Anyway, I want to talk about the end card, because the end card's gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's so beautiful. I love the lighting and the shadows and the fire that's on Yanigahara. This is one of my favorites. The moment I saw this, I was like, this is one of my favorites of the series. It's so damn good. The mangaka I'm super intrigued by. The mangaka is Yu Ito, who appears to be a shoujo author. I don't know what this series Shut Hell is. It's the only series I can find. Like, they've done some work for Gundam, like Our Gundam. They've done a lot of work for that series. I know of Gundam. I know that. But this Shut Hell series looks fascinating. I don't know what it's about. It looks interesting, though. But the manga's artwork for it is gorgeous. So maybe one day I will look into Shut Hell. It just looks very fascinating. I love the aesthetic so much, actually. But yeah, y'all, I definitely am looking forward to your comments. Don't think that I'm not, but I don't think I'm going to be able to wait till episode 40. So I don't know if my mods will let me get into the next week's comments beforehand. But I may have to go ahead and watch episode 40, and because I can't wait to find out what the results of this match is. So yeah. In any case, I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below. This episode, the message, the artwork, everything about it, 10 out of 10. But that's this series in a nutshell. Anyway, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more March Comes In Like a Lion. Bye.